So I am Fabio Barbon. I am a former computer scientist that now works in the industry. I work for Exprivia, that is an Italian company that makes sorry. Okay. That makes clinical software. We are one of the big five in Italy with about 2,000 people. And today I will present to you the SMARTool project. So I will first present you the research problem we faced. Then I will spend some words on the project itself. And finally, I will tell you how we are planning to exploit the results of the project to the market. So the problem we faced is the coronary artery disease that, as you should be able to see. Okay. This graph shows the causes of death in the world in the last 25 years. And as you can see, for the adults, cardiovascular related deaths are the leading cause of death in the world. And this trend is growing, so a big problem. So what is coronary artery disease? It is a local mechanical process that happens within the coronary vessels. There is an accumulation of degenerative material, lipids and calcium. This doesn't want to work. Let's give it a last try then. I switch. Okay, so the process is a local mechanical one. So there is this accumulation of fatty lipids and calcium in the inner layers of the vessels that causes a reduction of the blood flow. So less oxygen reaches the heart muscle cells, and this causes degeneration of the heart muscle tissues, and possibly necrosis and major, possibly fatal events. These plaques are caused by a multitude of factors, including systemic factors and local artery-specific ones. Systemic factors includes high blood pressure, diabetes, smoking, high blood cholesterol, especially LDL, family history, and genetics. Whether local artery-specific factors include anatomical geometry and the plaque shape and molecular characteristic. Then an added issue about CAD is that often it is asymptomatic. So the risk factors are quite well known for CAD, but still the diagnosis is far from optimal, because the techniques used for CAD are of three kinds, essentially. There are functional tests, the most common being electrocardiography, stress test. Then there is biohumoral testing, standard lab test. And but the most important technique for diagnosis is coronary imaging. So the golden standard for diagnosis CAD via imaging is catheter-based angiography. It is a quite old technique. It is more than 60 years old, but it is still considered the gold standard because it has a very good advantage, and that is that within the same procedure, catheterization, once an obstructive stenosis is found, you can use the same session to actually treat the stenosis. So, for example, by placing a stent or other angioplasty techniques. But then there are, in the last decades, other imaging-based techniques have been developed, in particular echocardiography, magnetic resonance-based angiography, and especially computed tomography angiography. This last one is particularly interesting because even if it is not as good as catheter-based angiography in terms of specificity and sensitivity. It is getting very close with the last generation CT scanners. And then it is much less invasive for the patient. It costs a fraction of the price. It costs hundreds of euros instead of thousands. And, but more of all, it opens up a big opportunity for computational modeling because it is digital. So for applying three-dimensional reconstruction techniques and the fluidodynamics techniques. And here is where the SMARTool project comes in. So the SMARTool project value proposition is to develop a set of in silico tools for the point of care, for improving the diagnosis, the monitoring, and the treatment of coronary heart disease. More specifically, we're working at 5 tools, some of which are already ready for the market, let's say. One is a pre-imaging module that uses a variety of molecular information, so biohumoral, lipidomics, genomics, monocyte, and inflammatory markers. And also, we are developing a lab-on-a-chip device that is able to detect a specific monocyte that is highly relevant for CAD. Then also, we are developing an RNA panel for the Illumina platform. Then we are developing a set of CTA-derived models, in particular a 3D reconstruction model, a plaque growth prediction model, and virtual FFR, where FFR stands for fractional flow reserve yes model, also from CTA. Then we are developing a virtual angioplasty tool to assist the planning and the insertion of the stents. And finally, we are developing an integrated decision support system in the cloud that brings together all the features above. So the SMARTool project is a Horizon 2020 project that started in 2016 and will end in about 1 year. It consists mainly in 2 phases, 2 packages of work, a clinical learning phase and a technical development phase. The clinical learning is consists of 2 basic batch of exams. One was actually done about 8 years ago and consisted in the context of another former FP7 project and consisted of CTA and biohumoral characterization. The second one was the same patients, about 450 patients have been recalled, starting from the summer of 2016, and it's over. And apart from the CTA, an expanded molecular characterization has been obtained. The technical learning phase started in 2016 with the project by developing a software tool to support the data collection for the trial. Then we have developed and finished developing the Smart FFR, the simulation for the FFR. And this year we are completing the black growth model algorithm. And we started this year working at the pre-image module that is using a support vector machine as a machine learning techniques. Then we are also developing this year the virtual angioplasty tool that uses finite elements techniques. And also this year we started working on the cloud platform. Okay, here is the consortium. The main technical, the leading partners are Fort from Greece, from Ioannina, that is doing all the hard work for the three-dimensional reconstruction. Then there is the CNR in Italy and other partners. So here is all the big picture of the project in a single slide, seen as a workflow. In the left, you can see the patient risk-based value creation tools, let's say. So when the patient, via the pre-image module, you can assess, you can stratify the patient on 3 classes. There are actually 5, but in this slide are only 3. And if one interesting thing about the pre-image module is that it has a very high negative predictive value, almost perfect, is 98.7%. So we can rule out a patient with no CAD, being confident that the diagnosis is correct. And this will make sense in a couple of slides. Then there is the local plaque-specific part, in which after the patient is gone for the CTA, we acquire via uploading the DICOM files, and we perform the 3D reconstruction, and from there we can compute all the measures. And if we found a severe obstruction, we suggest to the user the angioplasty, and we can assist the user by using the virtual simulation. So I will skip some slides that goes too much into details. So here is the actual technical architecture of the platform. We have already done a big part of this. In particular, the left part, the orange part, the blue, sorry, part, is a piece of software that is deployed locally in the hospital, that is where the clinician, the cardiologist, can choose and upload the files for uploading that to the cloud platform. Then there is the data processing layer, the blue one, and then there is the presentation layer. So one thing, I think, interesting thing about the platform is that it is, despite being dedicated to the CAD disease management, we are developing it as a clinically agnostic way, so it can host other diseases. Why this? Because we implemented a kind of plugin system that allows deploying other algorithms and techniques and implementing other data pipelines other than the one we used for the project. Then another nice byproduct, if you want, of the project is the tool we developed at the beginning of the project itself for the trial. This is the reason why I'm telling you this is because they asked us more than once to reuse this tool, even if we developed for the project itself. They asked us to reuse for other projects or for other trials, because it is based on a NoSQL database and on a rich declarative GUI language that allows a very rich modeling of trial data. So here is the case browser, the case viewer and editor, and here is the data processing pipeline that is based on Apache Spark and Zeppelin. So the exploitation methodology, what we have done so far is to grab market, let's say, domain data, especially public health data and the healthcare expenditure data. Then we have studied the market players, especially players that provide similar services, because in fact, 2 of the main deliverables, so to say, of the project are only incremental innovation, are not groundbreaking innovation. In particular, our smart FFR simulator is similar to the already existing Earthflow FFR. This is, and also the pre-imaging module has the same, let's say, clinical and diagnostic purpose of Chorus CAD by CardioDX. These are both American startups. What's interesting for us is that since they are in the market from 4, 5, even 7 years for Earthflow, we can study their business model and how they performed. And then we tried to identify the challenges and the barriers to adoption, and then we have simulated some possible business models. So some market numbers that are the most specific for us. The orange box shows the cost of the procedure related to CAD diagnosis and treatment. As you can see, the functional test cost a few hundred euros. A CTA scan costs about 500 euros. An angiography costs much more, costs from 2,000 to 8,000 euros. And an angioplasty can cost up to 20, but also 30 or 40 euros for the most complex cases. So in the blue table, you can see the numbers for European procedures. In total, there are an average of 960,000 angioplasties performed in the European Union, and 1.4 million angiographies. What the interesting thing about these numbers is the rate of inappropriateness for angiographies. So angiographies cost thousands of euros, are really invasive for the patient, and according to a big American study that as much as we know is the only one for available, there is a gross 3.4% percentage of inappropriateness. That doesn't seem a big number, but when you compare the cost of a CTA scan that can rule out patients that don't need angiography to the cost of an angiography, you can see that this is a very big cost-saving opportunity here. Also, in that same study, they have stratified the angiography performed, and on 100 angiography, 29 were for non-acute patients. Non-acute according to standard classic risk factors. In this case, the percentage of inappropriate angiographies goes up to 11%, and for this 29% of non-acute, 25%, so 1 of 4, is asymptomatic. And for asymptomatic patient, the rate of inappropriate, so avoidable angiography goes up to 22%. So a huge opportunity for cost savings. So last slide. Speaking about SMARTool cost effectiveness, we follow two lines of effectiveness, so to say, the clinical usability and the financial cost effectiveness. So the clinical usability is what I described to you, is the 5 clinical value creation points. For the financial cost effectiveness, we have 2 direct cost-effective points, value creators. One is the pre-image module that can be seen as a gatekeeper to the CTA itself, that is also, even if much less invasive than angiography, still a bit invasive because it requires a radiation exposure, and it costs some hundreds, so it is a cost saving. And the most important thing is that the CTA-derived models, so the black growth predictor and the smart FFR, as gatekeepers, they can save at least 3.5% of inappropriate ICA, so a big cost saver. So that's it. Yes.
Hi. You talk about inappropriate angiograms, and I'm a little bit surprised about your figures actually. So I think there's probably a lot more in there than that, because it's fee for service. So to one extent, you could say actually the problem is your health system, because if the angiogram is inappropriate, then the CT angiogram may be inappropriate as well. So you're maybe just you can reduce the cost, but you're still doing inappropriate procedures.
Okay, let me understand if I understand your question correctly. CTA is actually a gatekeeper to, they are not the same diagnostic procedure. I mean, CTA is just an image.
If you're low risk and such that you don't need an angiogram, you may well not need a CT angiogram as well. So not all of these people that have an angiogram should even be having a CT angiogram.
Yes, but the coronary, the catheter, the invasive angiogram is, the CTA is much more, is very good in actually detecting CAD much more than pre-image modules. So in fact, there are a number of cases in which with the CTA you can rule out a CAD diagnosis. So,
anyone who's asymptomatic, virtually anyone who's asymptomatic, apart from if they've had a heart transplant, is considered suitable for an angiogram, really. It seems quite strange, but there you go.
According to...
I think there is a trend in the guidelines before to move towards the CTA. Still, physicians would follow some guidelines before suggesting to some patients some...
Yeah. I mean, what's relative radiation burden as well between angiography and CTA as well?
I could contribute to that. So firstly, the threshold for invasive studies are higher than they are for like a CTA. So if you applied, the rules wouldn't be as hard in saying these are bad because we have false negatives too. You know, you can always increase it. So the current machines, I heard a guy who knows this business say everybody should be screened with a CTA. It could be $250 is all it should cost, because it can be done in like 3 seconds. Newer machines have very low radiation, it's like a chest X-ray. So, but it counts on a new machine. But so CTA could revolutionize it all. Everybody may get one once every 2 years.
That's quite scary. I mean, but you're talking about a country where people can walk off the street and have an MRI scan, can't you? And I just find that hugely problematic because obviously the lower your rate of disease and the higher, it doesn't matter how low the false positive rate is. If you're doing it on asymptomatic people, then it's potentially a problem, isn't it?
Well, but a lot of people drop over dead with no symptoms. So it depends on where where you cut, how much you're worried about missing something versus how much it costs and how dangerous it is. So what's going to happen if they do bring in really cheap CTAs that are low radiation, you're going to find the threshold going way down. Right now they're doing these X-rays, look for calcium, which is not nearly as good.
Well, no, because the calcium ones are stable. I mean, the people that drop dead is often from the unstable plaques rather than things that have significantly narrowed the artery. So if you have something that can tell you what's an unstable plaque, well, that'd be handy.
Yeah.
But if you don't,
It's all open. But,
Another question?
Yes.
When we are talking about CDS, the immediate response is liabilities, that you have to be careful. I mean, when you go beyond the research line, they will ask you to certify,
Yes.
blah, blah, blah.
Actually, I cut the presentation because I didn't want it to be too tedious. But we had we afforded our exploitation challenge. One for sure is a compliance. We need to be certified. What we plan to do is as soon as the project ends. Actually, we are doing this now. We are establishing a startup who will take in charge medical device certification and all this stuff. Then medical device is for sure an obligation for us. But let me say, as a player from the industry, from the software industry, I'm quite confident that we deal with the medical certification all the time. So I don't see this as an issue. It is a task. It is a very costly task in this case because we need a trial to validate all the results. In particular, for example, for the virtual FFR, we needed to have a cohort of patients that actually go to the coronary, the standard coronary, and this is difficult to have as a cohort because you can't ask a patient only because he's in a trial to perform an angiography, an invasive angiography. They have to it is too invasive, so this is a big issue. But this is not the biggest issue. According to in particular, according to the heart flow cases, the American startup, they had a huge amount of money from the capital market. They had, I think, more than $140 million from the private capital market. And still they took 4 years from when they have their MedDev certification, FDA in this case, from when they were included in the CPT catalogs in order for the insurances, American insurance and public health institution to pay back, to reimburse the procedure. So this is, in our opinion, the biggest exploitation issue. So we are planning actually for a backup business model. We don't go for reimbursement. For sure, we started this thread, but I think we will go to the standard salesman and sales force strategies in which we use the IT budget of the hospitals to sell this stuff.
Can I ask you?
Yes.
You have included more than one models in your more than one predictive models.
Yes.
If I read correctly, have they all been validated, derived, trained from the 263 patient dataset, or are they from different?
No, the cohort, all of them are from the SMARTool cohort. Yes.
What do you expect? Will you be asked? You will obviously be asked to validate it in an external data
Sure.
company.
Sure.
Will you
Yes.
validate each and every algorithm separately? Because something that maybe if one algorithm is losing in accuracy.
Okay. Okay, let's put it this way. All the models, the algorithm we are developing are not on the same level of maturity, and the market is not on the same level of how to say, maturity to accept them. For example, the decision support system, we expect that is very difficult to be put on the market. With respect, for example, to smart FFR, that is an incremental, so to say, we perform slightly better than already existing solution, that is Airflow. So when I spoke about this startup we are doing, it is mostly for the most established and mature algorithm, meaning the plaque grow model and the smart FFR. These are the first two. For those two, this will be the same material. Together. Okay, and then starting from 2021, we will start to address the pre-imaging module and the other stuff that is much less mature.